Hello, my name is Henry Kahn. Unfortunately, due to my responsibilities elsewhere, I'm unable to physically give this presentation to you all today. I will be presenting on the Ojibwe, a Native American tribe that calls the northern Great Lakes region around Lake Superior home. Before we dive further into the Ojibwe, we need to discuss the Anishinaabe. The Anishinaabe are a collective of culturally related indigenous peoples. This includes the Algonquins, Ottawa, Saulteaux, and others in addition to the Ojibwe. The Ojibwe are the most populous and are actually one of the largest tribes in North America, having nearly 150 communities across both Canada and the United States. There are also a multitude of different spellings for the tribe. It isn't uncommon to see W-E, W-A, or W-A-Y, depending on where you are or who you talk to. Both the Ojibwe and the Saulteaux were called Chippewa by Europeans. It translates to puckered up. This is in reference to their moccasins that have a puckered up seam across the top. Throughout this presentation, I will refer to them as the Ojibwe, but if you hear other people reference the Chippewa or Anishinaabe, they are likely referencing the Ojibwe. The first documented contact with Europeans was the French Jesuits in 1640. Very quickly, a trading relationship developed where the Ojibwe traded furs and pelts for firearms and other European goods. As a result, the Ojibwe greatly expanded their territory, driving the Dakotas south in their attempts to gain more and more land so that they have more access to trading goods. These conflicts were very one-sided, as oftentimes the Ojibwe not only had firearms, but they held the numerical advantage. The French, and later on to a lesser extent the British, formed mutually beneficial treaties. The French, who were primarily concerned with trade, were happy to let the tribe operate as they always had, only now there is an additional exchange of goods, gifts, and language. The British also engaged in trade, but the Ojibwe were not compensated nearly as well for their goods, which considerably soured relationships between the two. Because of their size and the role that they played in trade, they were often engaged in European conflicts. Two examples of this are the 7 Years' War, where they sided with the French against Great Britain and the colonies because of their long-standing trade relationship. Another example is the War of 1812, where they sided with the British against the United States in the hopes that a loss on the side of the United States would limit their expansion into the territory owned by the Ojibwe. Over time, European powers claimed the land that they call home. Each power had a very different relationship with the Ojibwe. On the bottom right, you can see an estimate of where you could find members of the tribe before colonial times, and to the left of that, you can see another map. This one details how the land was divvied up by Europe. In red, you see the original British land held by the colonies. And in pink, you see the land that was French, with the exception of Florida, which at this time belonged to Spain. This land was ceded to the British after the 7 Years' War, also known as the French and Indian War. In addition, Spain gave Great Britain Florida. After the war, the empire tried to limit expansion of the colonies to help calm tensions with the Proclamation Line of 1763. Ultimately, this failed and the colonies continued to expand. The United States took over the land after the Revolutionary War, intent on expanding the land that Great Britain ceded to them, notated in pink, was slowly turned into states, pushing the Ojibwe and the other tribes onto smaller and smaller reservations over the years. The Ojibwe were a settled tribe. They sustained themselves through hunting, trading, fishing, gathering, and cultivation of crops such as corn, squash, and wild rice. They lived in wigwams made of wooden pole frames covered in birch bark and animal hides, with floors made of wild grasses to provide insulation. Because they were settled, they had ample opportunity to develop a writing system. It was pictorial in nature and is used by the Mediwiwin, who are essentially the medicine men, responsible for spiritual advice, healing, and documenting knowledge. This includes historical, mathematical, and cultural knowledge that is preserved to this day on birch bark scrolls. Moving on to music, we can see that the Ojibwe had a diverse set of genres and styles for the music they perform. Ceremonial music is typically giving thanks, a call for healing, and have significant cultural significance to the tribe. Powwow songs are the ones that are performed socially, at gatherings such as powwows, cultural exhibitions, or any event you can think of where you may want to have music. Children's songs, similar to Western culture, are meant to soothe, amuse, or otherwise entertain children, and lack the depth that a lot of the other genres have. Lastly, we have contemporary songs. They are often mainstream songs that have been translated into the Anishinaabe language, with Anishinaabe instruments to allow it to still have that distinct and uniquely Ojibwe sound. On the next slide, I'll play an example of a social song, Kichikikanashi, or Chickadee song, and afterwards we will analyze it together.
Anakapichikanak, anakapitowat, wingash, windamawyangedwa, kashki picheke, kashki yaking. Kichikikaneshi, eyakawandak, non dagasit, non denmiyangedwa, manadokeyang, manadoyang.
This song is social in nature. Taken from Margaret Newton's book, A Collection of Poems, What the Chickadee Knows, it details the importance of becoming the changed spirit and person you want to see in the world by touching the lives of others through actions, words, and emotions. Note the use of mimicry in the tune, and how the Ojibwe word for chickadee is an onomatopoeia, Kichikikanashi. On the next slide, I have one last example of Ojibwe music, this time a ceremonial song, Nakweskadahi Ekabiag, or in English, Meet Me by the Water.
Kawamana moshkeneya kizitibikizis epichipagosendama.
This song describes an Ojibwe woman's sacred duty in taking care of the water. Water used for drinking as well as all household tasks and medicine. Its words are meant to heal emotions so that collectively we can all help heal and give back to Mother Earth. It is important to note how important it is for communities and families, not just for individuals. The chorus of the song is comprised primarily of vocables, giving the song structure and form, but not contributing significantly to the overall meaning and message. The verses, on the other hand, are where the actual message comes through. Written in 4/4 time, the only instrument used beyond the voices of the women is a hide-held hide hand drum struck with a wood stick covered in deer hide on the striking end. Here are the resources I used for the presentation. I highly encourage you all to visit ojibwe.net if you want to hear more examples of music from the Ojibwe. Are there any questions? While I'm not present to answer any you may have for me at this time, please feel free to visit the video at a later date and leave a comment below. I will get back to you as soon as possible with a detailed answer. I thank you all for your time, and I hope you have a very good rest of your day.